Should I be saying Merry Christmas? I know it's close to the actual date, and of course, probably we've been giving up that greeting to one another for the whole month. It is good to wish each other a Christmas that is merry, that is joyful, that is hopeful. We all need a dose of that. And maybe Christmas is here to remind us so that we can remember all year long God's goodness and love in sending His Son. Most of you know me. I'm Father Norm Douglas, a pastor at St. Vincent de Paul Parish in Akron. Getting ready, it's busy time for priests and other clergy, getting ready for all the Christmas liturgies and coming together with festivities. And I want to share with you one story. I don't think I've shared it with you. Some of you already know it, and maybe I did. A number of years ago, after I was ordained, just for a few years, I was a parish called Holy Family. And it was Christmas Eve, and I just was having a difficult time trying to come up with a preaching, something that would be relevant, something that would speak to people, something would be somewhat unique, because after all, it's Christmas. Well, something came into my mind. I quickly evaluated and said, I would go ahead and do it. And it was this. I'll tell you what I did. As I was preaching, and this was planned, as I was out there in the sanctuary preaching, I then all of a sudden went down, turned a somersault, and of course then intending to get back up. Well, 2 or 3 doctors ran up and they thought, I had a heart attack. The parish was all, saying, what happened to Father Norm? And something that I thought was going to be clever and unique. It was like everybody was worried. But then I got back up. They could see I was okay. And I had to tell them immediately why I did it. And even though maybe it didn't pan out the way I wanted, I said, you know what? I turned a somersault in the midst of this preaching because I thought that would surprise you people. And I have a sense it did. It wasn't a real positive surprise, at least initially. I hope you feel better now. But I did that, and that was to be the basis of my rest of my homily, and it still is. Because as I mentioned, sure, all of you were initially shocked. What happened? This is the unexpected thing. And then I made the point that probably one of the biggest surprises in humanity, especially for those of us who follow Jesus Christ, is God becoming human in Jesus. That's surprising. That's awesome. And hopefully through the years, we've come to see the good and the positive of that. But I wonder if we lose our sense of surprise. I wonder if, and I've done it too as a priest, well, we're hearing the Christmas story. Yeah, we know how that goes. And we're remembering everything, and we're concerned about getting everything right. And that sense of being awestruck or surprised that our God of the universe, that we understand today even more, is huge. This God became human in Jesus Christ as a little baby, and to grow up and to be part of our lives. Something to maybe think about. Want to share one other little story. It was a couple of years back, a family I know, they had one boy, 7 years old, and they took him up to see the manger scene, the creche in the Catholic Church, and were pointing everything out to him. And I was there with them, just being touched that this family was using the creche to explain all that happened. And the little boy was pretty young, was just awestruck and looking at the baby and looking at the animals and looking at the shepherds and just old enough to really appreciate all this. And his mom and dad basically said to him, well, God did this, sent His Son because God loves us. And that little boy, soon thereafter, said something, I'm going to get the essence of it, maybe not the exact wording, but the essence. That little boy said, oh God, thank you for loving me. And I love you back. I love you back. Wow. We often say, hey, God loves us, and we know that. Do we ever, with that kind of spontaneity, that kind of joy, say, yeah, and I love you back? I want to close with a little reflection by Father Pedro Rupe, who was a Jesuit superior general for a number of years. He wrote this, and it reminds us of the heart of what we should realize about Christmas and how we love God back. Here it goes. Nothing is more practical than finding God, than falling in love in a quite absolute final way. What you are in love with, what seizes your imagination, will affect everything. It will decide what will get you out of bed in the morning, what you do with your evenings, how you spend your weekends, what you read, whom you know, what breaks in your heart, and what amazes you with joy and gratitude. Fall in love, stay in love, and it will decide everything. So for us, maybe especially at this Christmas season, realizing God's love, and can we fall back in love with God if maybe we've started to take Him and each other for granted? And can we realize what a wonderful life when we are in love? Everything we deal with, there's struggles and difficulties, but when we're in love and we know who loves us, we can go forth with an even deeper peace and joy through it all. Because loving and being loved is the heart of being human and is the source of our greatest joy. God bless you. Stay in love with God, with your family, with lots of other people, with our human family. Amen.